Are we on?
Yes.
Gotta mute that speaker or else we get that feedback. Good. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, now it's working. Thank you. So, welcome back to virtual Sarah J. Monastery, and for those here live, to our classroom in physical Sarah J. Monastery. So, I'm going to actually just show briefly the classroom so everyone online can just see where we've been, and if you ever come in person, where you might end up having your class. So maybe everyone can say hi for a second. We'll just do a 360. Hello. Okay. And well, this guy you know pretty well by now. And so this is actually a classroom or a conference hall in the Iga Chilling guest house of Sarah J. So that's why those of you who attended the fall debate school, it is not where we had those classes. Okay, good. So today also is 15 August. So that is the Independence Day for India. So happy 15 August to everybody. And so as we've been
Jai Bharat.
Jai Bharat. As we've been generating our motivation, making a special effort to have a meaningful and positive motivation before we begin our sessions, before we do really any activity, if we're conscious enough of it, then likewise we can reflect on sometimes we have these special occasions that give us extra cause for making a strong motivation. So really, our ability to be here today, our ability for specifically us two to learn, and all the others who are helping teach the course, to learn this tradition, to learn this method of debate, right, is due to the kindness of India. You know, I mean, we don't know what would have happened if the Indian government hadn't welcomed the Tibetans when they had to come into exile. So it's the freedom, it's the institutions, and what are those all founded in? Really, I mean, you know, the idea of the good of the many, the needs of the many are more important than the needs of the few, and it comes from the basic motivation of compassion, right? The desire for the whole community to benefit. So this is something that we are very lucky to have. So again, making our own motivation that we also pay it forward. We are able to continue to grow the freedom in the world, grow the happiness, the opportunities for people in the world, right? By the power of our activities, whether it's debating, learning, or whatever else you do, going to work or school or anything. So take a moment to just cultivate that broad and vaster motivation. Okay, thank you. Good. All right, so first, why don't we just check if there are any sort of questions, anything that someone has that just is, you know, gnawing away in your mind that doesn't quite make sense, or something, just anything, any doubt, question that you've had and haven't had answered yet. I will just mention with that, the couple questions that have come through email that I still haven't responded to, I will after the course finishes, after today, and also send to the whole WhatsApp group so everyone can see those interesting, there's some questions from people with quite a bit of background and other, in logic or philosophy that may be a little bit, going into too much detail for some, but I'm sure some people will find those interesting. And then for now, are there any other questions? We can check if there's any hands coming up. Oh yeah, come on up. Tenzin Belgian. Is that Venerable Belgian? Let's see. Come on up. You're not quite on the stage yet, if you're trying to be. There you go. Okay. Great. Thank you. Oh, so now we have to turn our mics off. and turn the, okay, so we'll just do it on here. Actually, that worked pretty well. Okay, why can't we hear you?
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me now?
Are you speaking?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you? Okay. I just had a basic question, and maybe somebody already asked it before, but I just want to clarify the difference between responding to the thesis and the persuasion. So for example, if you take the subject color red, it follows it is color of a red Tesla. So color red can be the color of a red Tesla, but there are red colors that can be red for other things. So since this is is this a more general question so that you can say yes, but then when it comes to the persuasion, it follows that if it is a color red, then it's necessarily color of a red you don't agree, you say why. So is that the difference? I was just wondering the difference then between the thesis and the persuasion here.
Okay, very good question, Venerable. And so, well, actually, to be honest, that's one of the topics that we will cover today in the lecture that we have, the slides that were sent out yesterday called the Understanding Pervasion, the slides on understanding pervasion. So you should have received those, or at least are able to download them from the WhatsApp group. And then we can go into that and even that example maybe when we go through those slides. But essentially, for now, since we're not really when we really go into, this is the funny thing about this tradition of debate is that, you know, it actually is developed within and practiced within within an underlying philosophical context, which includes epistemology, it includes its own system of logic, it includes its own ontology, which, you know, as much as we might like to hope or think that we could have like a value neutral, you know, system of debate or analysis, or a philosophy neutral system of debate. It's not really true. We can't really. So not to go on a big tangent, but just to say that when there are whole texts and courses of study where you just go into the nature of the functioning of logic itself, right? How does logic actually work? Not just the mechanics that we're doing now. There, this question you'll debate this more, and it will get more clear when you go into that. And that's again called the Taqriq, or the science of logic. And so but without going into all that, we can just say, just use your best, make your best guess, and then if a challenger can convince you otherwise, you take the sa, and if they can't, then you can hold your position. You can maintain that position. So I would say it's as simple as that, really.
Yes. Well, I might even try to make it more simple. So, Annie Peldrin and all of you, right now, so the statement A is B, and if A, then necessarily B, are logically distinct statements. So if you agree that A is B, you're not at all committed to the other thesis that if something is A, then it's necessarily B. Yeah? So that is what you should take away right now.
Thank you.
So Annie Peldrin, I think you've studied a bit of Dura before, so you know that, for example, existent phenomena is permanent, right? But if something is an existent phenomenon, then it's not necessarily permanent, right? So those are two
For
logically.
instance, take the subject, the color red.
Yeah, right. So that's if you understand that at this point, then you know, bahut acha.
So now, why doesn't someone with their hand up come up on stage? We have, let's see, just one person, I think. It looks like Helena. Would you like to come or type the question either way? Okay, so I'll just just give 1 second so we can switch our audio setup here.
All right, so I hope that I'm able to phrase it because I'm not even sure. But basically yesterday, there were three of us kind of trying to do like a debate. And it was interesting. One of us was from the United States, two of us were from different countries in Latin America. And so in my mind, I had this idea, you know, like what if I can make my American friend contradict himself into first saying that America is a country and then a continent. But we discovered that that was, I mean, at least in the moment, it was not possible because in fact, he had never like pondered about America being like a continent like that, you know, just out of the way that it works in school there. And for me, it was kind of like strange too, because I knew that in the United States, people tend to think of America as a country, but not a continent, and that was very surprising. So we were wondering, how do you work on a debate when people have like radically different information on the subject? I don't know if you guys are talking or not, but your microphone is off.
Yes, that's an excellent question. And it's related to a question that came up, which I don't know who asked it, but we, you know, through Stefan, we got the question. And that question is about, you know, really, at what point do we really start needing facts? Like you're talking about having different facts of something. At what point do we really start needing some kind of defined terms and more like factual information? Or some people saying they saw the need for that already. It's like we get to a point just with your rough understanding of something where you can't really take the debate further because you just lack more knowledge about it, right? So I think in one case, as we've mentioned before, well, you don't really need to have any a priori knowledge or any pre-existing knowledge about something because you can draw it out of a defender and then reason based on what the defender says. But at the same time, the more, you know, just kind of textual knowledge you have, textual in this context, maybe meaning just, I don't know, cultural or an understanding, a broader understanding of how terms are used and how things are defined and why a country would be defined a certain way versus a continent and all the, you know, all those things, you know, then the more basically you have in you to use as reasons, to use as, you know, yeah, to use as reasons, to bring out more kind of to make the debate go further. So there definitely is value to having just more knowledge. And this, again, is one of the reasons why we use this as actually our pedagogical tool for learning, right? We use this to learn about Buddhist philosophy, psychology, and logic because it's very helpful, but we also have how many, you know, reams of text that we can use and that, you know, people memorize and quote from while we're debating and so forth. So yes, there is that. So that actually answered another question, but related one. But your question then, I think really you just have to try and find some place where you can agree and then work from there. You have to try to find, you know, if you're just completely defining a term in a different way, and then there's sort of no reconciling that, then you have to sort of let that question go and then try and, you know, keep probing to try and find another something where there could be some mutual basis of understanding.
Sure. Yes, in general that's true, but you know, in general, it also depends on the context. Okay, so some of the things due to the culture, due to the situation, due to the other person's background, they might just be using that word in a different way than you, right? So when Dunya and I, we live at Sera, when we say lunchtime, right, we're thinking 11 o'clock, right? In the monastery, that's when they serve lunch. But so here in India, right, then lunchtime might even be, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, like this, right? So then if I say, okay, hey, let's meet at lunchtime, and then I start waiting at 11, and then someone shows up at 1, okay, I have to understand, wait a minute. Okay, we had a different definition to what there is, right? So part of it is just knowing what people are referring to by the words they use, okay? But in this particular case, with the American Defender, right? If they are then equating, you could say, okay, what do you mean then by America? And if they're saying that America and the United States of America are, equivalent, then, how I would ask is, okay, well then, take the subject, North America and South America, it follows that they are, parts of America, right? So they probably would have to say why, right? And then you would say, okay, well, the north and south of something, it doesn't have to be the part of that, right? And then you could start to go in that way. But all of this is going to be, dependent on the context. And anyway, the larger point is in every debate, both parties sort of, that's the fact-finding process. What do we mean by the terms that we're using? And make sure that we're on the same page.
Yeah, so that's a good point. You can actually use reasoning to sort of impose a shift in the interpretation of that word on the defender. So just point out to them, it doesn't make sense to say that North America and South America are not America. Like, come on, it's North America. Right. So but using, obviously, clearer reasoning. Okay, so very good. And I don't see any more hands, so we'll start with our slides. So this again is related to Venerable Baudouin's question about pervasion. So we'll go kind of quickly through this.
Sorry, while Dunya is doing that, I will have as a public service announcement to all my U.S. passport holder friends who might be on this. This is one thing you learn as you start to live outside of the U.S. So I always introduce myself as being from the United States. I don't really say I'm from America, because our South American friends, they do have a different use of the word for that. And I think it's it's nice to be aware of that and sensitive to it. So,
or you could always just say you're Canadian, of course. So, is there a difference between the following two questions? Take the subject an acorn, it follows that it is the cause of an oak tree. Or, and then the second, it follows that if it is an acorn, then it's necessarily the cause of an oak tree. Okay, so this was exactly the question we just had earlier. So then any answer? Anyone here? We've gone over it a bit, so what do you think? There's a difference, okay. And what would the difference be? Let's see, I'll give you, can you come up or?
Yeah, come up.
You come up, yeah.
And, it might be good just to do it in the debate, right? Have them answer.
Yeah, so why don't we maybe we'll start by just doing the debate. We can pose that, and then...
I'm going to debate with Namjoon. I didn't sign up for this.
You're so lucky. We got such a gift on Independence Day. Okay? So, while you're getting your mic set up. Okay, take the subject an acorn. It follows that it's the cause of an oak tree.
I just think the first statement is more vague than the second statement.
Okay, so I asked you a question, and it follows that it's the cause of an oak tree. So in general, you should say either I accept or why, right?
I know that.
So those are your two chances. Yeah?
I accept.
I accept, okay? All right. So it follows that if it is an acorn, then it's necessarily the cause of an oak tree.
Why?
it follows that if it's an acorn, it's not necessarily the cause of an oak tree.
Why?
What? Strike. What was the first question? If it is an acorn, then it's necessarily the cause of an oak tree.
Oh, I accept. Sorry. I accept.
Oh, you accept?
Yes.
So if it is an acorn, then it's necessarily the cause of an oak
No,
tree.
if it is an acorn.
If it is an acorn, it follows it's necessarily...
If it is.
Okay. Maaf kijiye. If it is an acorn, then it's necessarily the cause of an oak tree.
I accept.
Okay. So, Korsum. Okay. So take the subject, an acorn that in the next moment is going to be totally burned by the fire. Okay? All right. That acorn. Take that subject, that acorn. It follows that it's the cause of an oak tree.
Reason not true.
No. It follows that. So you have why or I accept.
Why?
Because it is an acorn.
Okay, so how do I say I mean an acorn that's
No.
in a particular state?
No. So now I've given you, this is a three-part syllogism. So you have reason not true, no pervasion, or I accept. So, because it is an acorn. So now, what is the process we use, right? We have the three-part syllogism. So first we check if reason is true, right? So we have to ask, the acorn that is definitely going to be burned in the next moment, is it an acorn?
Yes.
So we can't say reason not true. Now we have to say, if it is an acorn, is necessarily the cause of an oak tree. So is it the cause of an oak tree, that particular acorn?
No.
No. So then you should answer
No pervasion.
no pervasion, and then pop, strike. So it follows that if it is an acorn, then it's not necessarily the cause of an oak tree.
I accept.
Okay, so bas. Okay, there we go. No, so it's educational. Thank you. It's more educational that you said like that. That's actually a debate that comes up in anyway, in Promenade Artica.
So why don't we stay on the what you? I'm curious to hear why did you say? I don't know about if it is an acorn as necessarily the cause of an oak tree, but if it is an acorn, what was going through your mind there?
Well, because when you particularly say if it seems like you're talking about all phenomena, right? All known phenomena and any instance of known phenomena. Whereas if you just say, if it's an acorn, it sounds like you're just speaking about an acorn.
Huh.
Yeah.
So that's good. So where does it go? That's sort of one of the mysterious things about when we debate. Where is our mind going when we say it or when we think it? Who is it? What is it? Right? So good. So we'll just leave that as a kind of open exploration for y'all when you're debating. But the case is functionally, right? When we say it follows that if it is an acorn, that's right. It means that anything that you could then say in the next moment, take the subject, a flying horse, take the subject, a unicorn, take the subject, the horns of a rabbit. It can be non-existent things, even, right? Or take the subject, the acorn that's about to be thrown into a burning fire. Okay, so you can fill that in with anything, anything impossible or possible.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for your volunteering.
Thank you.
And good point. So that's right. So we'll try to go through the rest fairly quickly because we got a good demonstration already. But the point is, the questions indeed are different. So the thesis statement, again, you just ask yourself, is the subject a predicate? So is an acorn the cause of an oak tree? Now here, just to be technical and explain, because some of you might be wondering, well, if there is no pervasion, then why is just an acorn, when we take the subject, an acorn, why is that the cause of an oak tree? Right? Well, simply, what does it mean to be a cause of something else? For A to be a cause of B, basically that B arises from A, and in the absence of A, B cannot arise, okay? So in the absence of an acorn, right, an oak tree cannot arise, and an oak tree arises from an acorn, so therefore an acorn is the cause of an oak tree. That's simply what we mean by being the cause of something, okay? And again, it is certainly connected with a particular system of thought, right? So still, but luckily within that system of thought, the Nalanda tradition philosophy and logic, you're welcome to challenge any of the stated positions or textbook, statement positions. Okay, now the statement of pervasion. So what do we do differently there? Then we ask ourselves, instead of just if, the subject is the predicate, does there exist something which is the first item but not the second item? Okay, so what's going on here is that in the thesis statement we have a subject and predicate. But in the pervasion statement, we actually, hold on, go down here. Okay, so in the pervasion statement, we actually don't have a subject. Instead, we have two predicates, which means that when we, go on to make a statement of thesis, we have to think of our own subject, and then each of the terms in the pervasion statement becomes a predicate in the two new thesis statements. Okay? Does that make sense? So, a thesis statement, it has a subject and predicate. A pervasion statement does not actually have an explicit subject. You just say it. It is your subject, but it can be anything, right? So it doesn't actually have an explicit subject. So that's why you can say now the written one is a sterile acorn, but same style of example as an acorn being about to be thrown into a fire.
If you could share your screen on the
You have to do it.
No, I don't know how to do it. I thought if you're a user.
Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry. You're so right. Okay. No.
Yeah, on your computer.
From here? Because it's a different screen. Oh, I just have to make it big, I think. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, I hope some of you have it, this document on your device.
Could you share it from here?
I think I have to find it somewhere in here, which for some reason I'm not finding it. So the thing is, we have, several different little avatars in the room here. Oh, I'm not even on the stage. That's why. I'm so sorry. Yeah. We'll get this taken care of in 1 second. That's what happened. Okay, now you should all be able to just click it on your screen, and it will become the big window. Okay. Is that working there, Lexi?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's the gist of this, right? Why are they logically distinct statements? Well, because everything about them is distinct, except for that you have the same words coming up, right? The words acorn, the words cause of an oak tree are used in both types of statements, but it's actually saying completely different things. In the statement of thesis, you have an acorn as the subject, cause of an oak tree as the predicate. In the statement of pervasion, you don't have an explicit subject at all. That's for you to posit, or the challenger to posit, or the defender to posit. Whereas you have then two coming predicates, two things that will become a predicate in your next thesis statement. So this is, again, it's just breaking it down. So we have it, right? It follows that if it is an acorn, so that comes down to whatever you want to posit here, a sterile acorn in another thesis statement. So then the it becomes your subject of another thesis statement, and then an acorn becomes the predicate. So take the subject, an acorn that's about to be thrown in the fire. It follows that it is the cause of an oak tree, just like Venerable Namjong asked, and the answer is why, right? Okay, so then it also becomes the subject of another thesis statement where the predicate is the cause of an oak tree. Okay, so you can take your time and look through that more thoroughly.
Yes. However, I would like to interject something. In the course of the debate, remember, when the person has accepted a faulty pervasion, right, they've accepted that if it is an acorn, it's necessarily the cause of an oak tree. What you would do in debate is you posit the counterexample. So take the subject, the acorn that's about to be burned in the next moment, and then what you fling at them is actually this, number 2.
Right.
It
So,
follows
yeah.
that it is the cause of an oak tree. You wouldn't say it follows that it's an acorn.
But-
Right.
right, you could. I mean, you do both because you want them to accept it first.
Well,
If you want to, either way.
So generally, I think best practice is
Yeah, just go
to
direct.
give them the unwanted logical consequence and say it follows that it's the cause of an oak tree. Then when they say why, you say because it's an acorn.
Right.
Right? They have asserted that pervasion. What do they assert? If it is an acorn, it's necessarily the cause of an oak tree.
But
Right.
if you start with just asking if follows as an acorn, that makes sure that they actually accept that, because you can't give it as a reason if they don't already accept it. I mean, you could try, but they could just say the reason is not true. So if you do it the way Gen Namjung is saying, you're assuming they already will accept it as an acorn. In this case, of course, they probably will, right?
Right.
So then that's coming up on the later slide. So, but let's see. So this is what I just said, just written out. So again, take your time to go through it more slowly later. But essentially, when we have the it, that's a variable. Okay, it is a variable, or it is a variable, and then the first term in the pervasion statement becomes the predicate in the first thesis statement, and then the second term becomes the predicate in the second thesis statement. Okay. Okay, so if a statement of pervasion is true, meaning if it does hold, right? So if we said something else like, it follows that, well, we'll give an example of one. So this is where both, so if a statement of pervasion is true, both thesis statements must be true, but it's not the case here. So what about one where it is the case? Okay, it follows that if it is an acorn, then it's necessarily a seed. Okay? So if it's an acorn, it's necessarily a seed. So in this case, it does still hold. So each of those two thesis statements is accurate, true, you can accept it. Okay, so then this is now coming to what Kim Namjung is saying. How do you use this then to actually get someone to overturn their wrong position or their previously held thesis? So they say again, if it is an acorn, it's necessarily the cause of an oak tree. If the defender accepts, as they did, right, then they have to accept that any subject which is B is also C. So then you go, and now you bring in the reason, okay? This is where you use one as the reason. So now you can use that B, the predicate of the predicate of the first thesis, take the subject, a sterile acorn, it follows that it is an acorn, right? To prove C, it follows that, right? If something is an acorn, it's necessarily the cause of an oak tree. I take the subject, the sterile acorn, the acorn that's about to fall into the fire, follows it is the cause of an oak tree because it is an acorn. Okay, that's right. We've gone over that, so that's just again written so you can read through it. You know, when you want to have more time or take your time with it. So that's why just this last line here, it says this is the consequence, right? Exactly right. That's the absurd consequence there, if you accept the pervasion. And that's what in the line of the debate is called consequential reasoning, and why it's a very powerful way of getting people to, of getting us to challenge our previously held assumptions, because we have all these assumptions about pervasions, right? And you're seeing it as we go, how easy it is to have, to make the wrong, to hold the pervasion that's not true, right? Okay, so anything else? This you can just read through that on your own, and we'll move on because time. Okay, so now we'll go into what the joints of debate, right? Let's see if there are any questions before we do that. So we'll go through one more set of slides introducing a slightly new, it's sort of a new concept, but it's really more of a new practice. It's one of the practices that helps us to sharpen our mind and to really use these statements of pervasion, statements of thesis with three-part syllogisms, how to kind of learn to put them together into a real method to analyze two phenomena and compare them in a specific way. So that's called the joints of debate. Okay, and we'll get to that. But let's just check for questions, either here or online. Any questions? Okay, I'll check online. We have some things in the chat box. Okay. That. No hands are up. Okay, looks good. So is it making sense, how the difference now? Is it pretty clear? Pretty clear. Okay. And, you will definitely still have to, work through it as you actually debate. Okay, let's start then on the next one. We'll keep the screen share going. So, joints of debate, the joints of reasoning or joints of debate. Okay, everyone can see? Good. So we have, again, the idea of pervasion, something being pervaded by another thing, some phenomenon pervading another phenomenon. So one method that we use to understand and analyze objects is called the counting the joints of reasoning or the joints of debate. There are 4 possible ways that 2 objects can be related to one another. Okay, so we'll just go through those 4. The first is called equivalence. Okay? So what happens with equivalent phenomena?
Yeah, so that means if it's A, then it's B. If it's B, then it's A. They're logically equivalent, right? So they would, have to be different, right? Distinct phenomena. So, for example, I, like me and myself, right? It's just one thing. But for example, Tenzin Gyatso, which is the kind of name of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama, right? Those are equivalent. Well, maybe Gyalwa Rinpoche. That's the Tibetan epithet for His Holiness, right? Because there could be just someone else named Tenzin Gyatso. You got me?
And so here the example is a cause and a creator. Okay? So a cause, if it's a cause, it's necessarily a creator. If it's a creator, it's necessarily a cause. And number 2, a cause and effect. If it's a cause, it's necessarily an effect. If it's an effect, it's necessarily a cause. Okay, so these things, and we can think of, there are many more that we can think of, which we will look at. Okay, so this so the definition is actually defined distinct phenomena that share the 8 doors of pervasion. 8 doors of pervasion. Okay, we go through them. Why don't we go through them in debate style so everyone can just hear it written out. Okay, spoken out. So it follows that you can pause it. So this is the way we say this, and it will be written, in your PDF. So you look at it, but we'll just say it so everyone hears it. Okay, it follows that you can posit the relationship between a cause and an effect in terms of 3 joints, 4 joints, equivalence, or contradiction.
I accept.
Okay, posit it.
They're equivalent.
Equivalent, they're equivalent because?
Because they're distinct phenomena that have or fulfill the 8 doors of pervasion.
Okay, so it follows you can posit the 8 doors of pervasion between cause and effect.
I accept.
Okay, posit them.
How did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if it is an effect, it's necessarily a cause. If it's a cause, it's necessarily an effect. If it's not a cause, it's necessarily not an effect. If it's not an effect, it's necessarily not a cause. If cause exists, then effect exists. If effect exists, then cause exists. If cause doesn't exist, then effect doesn't exist. And if effect doesn't exist, then cause does not exist.
Good. And you can see that for the last 4, there's sort of 2 options of phrasing which come down to the same point. So you could say if it has a cause, it necessarily has an effect. If it has an effect, it necessarily has a cause. But here, it's actually, in that context, it doesn't actually mean the same thing, does it? Huh. took me, I actually had to speak it out, but that actually doesn't mean the same in this context. So there's a lot of things that come from just using debate in the English language that still really have yet to be explored, just because of the, lack of enough debaters using English within the debate. So this is actually something which it hadn't really come up before, but now it has. So those are not the same. So it's better to say, as Venerable Namjong has mentioned it, the second version. Okay, if A exists, if a cause exists, then the result necessarily exists. In effect, if an effect exists, the cause necessarily exists. So yeah, the having one there doesn't quite work for causes and effects. Interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
And we can get into why if anyone cares to know, but I was just like, whoa, just gave me a moment of like cognitive dissonance there, so I had to say it. Okay. Next one, contradiction. Okay, contradiction means what? Distinct phenomena which have no joint hub. A joint hub is something which is both of the two objects. Now, let's just make a really quick example. So we have something like an apple and an orange, okay? An apple and an orange. Now, take the subject, an apple and an orange. It follows that they have I'm asking everyone here, not Venerable Namjong. It follows they have a joint hub. Joint hub means a common basis, which is both of them. Why? Anyone accept? It follows that they have a joint hub because fruit is their joint hub.
Huh?
Now you accept, right? Or no? Some people are just silent and some now accept. So everyone's a little thrown off. You mean the reason's not true? Because that was a reason. Follows that they have a joint hub because fruit is that joint hub. Because fruit is the joint hub of them now, apple and orange, right? Reason not true. Okay. So fruit, why is fruit not a joint hub of apple and orange? Fruit is not an apple. Fruit is not an orange. Even though apple and orange are both fruit. So we just have if we look at the, sort of umbrella categories and just stack them one on top of the other, we have fruit up here, apple and orange down here. So fruit is a general, broader category, or we sometimes use the word a universal or generality of apple and orange. Okay. What we mean in this exercise, when we're analyzing the joints of debate, we're looking for things that are underneath, that are both an apple and an orange. Okay. So there's nothing which is both an apple and an orange. Now, if we take the subject, right? Take the subject, a fruit and a food. Right? Can we find something which is both a fruit and a food? An orange, right? A banana, right? A papaya. Any fruit. No, maybe
Poisonous
not.
fruit.
Yeah, poisonous. Yeah, maybe not all fruits. Yeah, put some poisonous berries. Okay. Well. You get the point of the question. Good. Okay. So in this case, contradiction is something where there does not exist a third item that is both A and B, both an orange and an apple, both anger and compassion, both a cause and a non-cause. So the simplest way to posit two things that are contradictory, and the simplest, I guess, way to just, something you can be sure is always going to be contradictory, is A and non-A, right? Or A and not A. Those are not only contradictory, they are directly contradictory. If you realize or know something is an apple, at the same moment, you know it is not a non-apple. Okay? This is, again, part of the sort of underlying epistemological framework of this debate format. But that is, you can debate that, but that's...
One small point. So I'm not sure if everyone knows, but this kind of a picture, that's what's called a Venn diagram, VENN diagram. So many of you would have been familiar with that, but in case you're not, you can come to know. So what this basically means, this is the whole universe of A's and B's, and then you see, since there's no intersection, that means if it's A, it's necessarily not B. If it's B, it's necessarily not A. So this is how you would notate contradiction in a Venn diagram.
Thank you for pointing that out. Right, and just again, that's enough. So next one is three joints now. So here we start getting a little. This is where things might be a little more difficult. So here we have a case where there is basically a subset of a larger set. That's a fine way to phrase it. Although don't get too attached to that phrasing because it might not actually always be exactly like that. But in general, we have something where if it is B, it is necessarily A, but if it is A, it is not necessarily B. There can be foods which are not fruits, right? Take the subject.
Masala dosa.
Masala dosa.
Our favorite.
So if we take fruit and foods, then that would be an example of three joints. Well, and that's we're still questioning whether if it's a fruit, it's necessarily a food. But we could say an Indian food and a food. How about that? Indian food and food. So if it's an Indian food, it's necessarily a food. If it's a food, it's not necessarily an Indian food. For example, spaghetti. Good. Okay. That is actually exactly what came to my mind as well. Very interesting. Yours too?
I thought pizza.
Pizza. Yeah.
We're same country.
Right. Is there, yes, question? Your comment? Yeah. What?
What is there nothing that is neither
Okay, good. So that's, well, what if there is nothing that is neither A nor B in general? Nothing that is either A or B. Then we just don't really say they have a relationship in this context. Yeah, you can find things that where there is neither anything which is nor A nor B, some like non-existent things, right? There is nothing which is a unicorn and a flying horse, right, or flying pig. Is that what you mean?
Or for instance, say A is everything that exists.
Okay.
Right? There's nothing that's not A.
Okay.
Therefore, there's nothing that's not B and not B.
Case, not existent. A is existent, right? So you can still posit something which is not existent. It would be both existing and non-existent?
Huh?
Yeah, so let's give the third. So the third one here is something that is neither A nor B. So in the case of the Indian foods and foods, we would say something like, a dog, a house that is neither food nor Indian food. So that's where we get three joints. Something which is both is a masala dosa. Something which is food but not Indian food, spaghetti. Something which is neither. Okay, those are the three joints here. Neither, right? A house. Okay, so the question is not that clear for me, but something where you're talking about the category existent. You want to compare existent phenomena and
Anything else?
okay, existent phenomena and
flower.
flower. Okay.
Okay.
So how many joints do they have? Yeah, let's do it. As follows, you can posit the relationship between existent phenomena and flower in terms of 3 joints, 4 joints, equivalence, or contradiction. 3 joints, okay, so he has 3 joints. Okay, so if they have 3 joints, then which pervades which? So that's the next question you ask. Which pervades which? Okay, if it's a flower, it's necessarily an existent phenomenon. If it's an existent phenomenon, then it's not necessarily a flower. Posit an example.
There's a flower on my
So I'm asking for the example which is existent but not a flower. First, yeah, the table. Okay, take the subject, the table. Okay, so then what we do is we would check each one. So we're just going through the practice, right? So take the subject, the table. It follows that it is an existent phenomenon. Okay, and then you can ask for a reason too, but for now we'll just go on. It follows that it is not a flower. Okay, accepts? Good. So now posit something which is both a flower and an existent phenomenon. Posit the joint hub. Yeah. So a flower, take the subject, a flower on my table. Very good. Okay, so then we check both of those. It follows it is a flower. It follows it is not an existent phenomenon. Sorry, it follows it is an existent phenomenon. Yes.
Good catch.
Good catch. Good catch. Very good. So that's showing something which is both of those, right? The joint hub, okay? And so you don't want to posit the same thing that you're comparing. You don't want to just say take the subject of flower, because you want to find a specific thing which is a flower, right? A more specific example. So it follows that if you can posit something which is neither of the two.
That's the non-existent thing.
Yes, in this case.
Okay, no problem.
Take the subject a unicorn, posit it is not a flower, posit it is not an existent phenomenon. Okay, so those were the 3 joints. Very good.
This is from
Yeah.
everything. There's a provision relationship to always
No, okay, so, well, things could be equivalent, where there's a provision going both ways. There are some rare cases, maybe not that rare, but it takes some thinking to get to them, where we can find kind of funny cases where there really isn't anything you can even posit that is the joint of neither. So what if you said, for instance, comparing, the category of either, the set of either existence nor non-existence. Anyway, let's get into, there can be rare cases, which I think is actually what you're asking about, where you wouldn't actually find 3 joints. There are rare cases like that. So it just depends on how you phrase it. Like but let's not get too confusing.
Yeah.
We can come around when we do the when we do the, is it after 5?
It's 3 to 5.
Okay, perfect. The timing is perfect, so we still have 30 minutes to debate. So the next one is just 4 joints. So here, the seed and the cause of an oak tree, right? Seed and the cause of an oak tree actually have 4 joints, right? The acorn and the cause of an oak tree, they had, even there it wasn't, it was probably 4. But here, seed and the cause of an oak tree is easier to say. And so there's something which is both, right? An acorn. There is something which is A but not B. What could that be? A seed but not the cause of an oak tree? A pumpkin seed. The subject of a pumpkin seed. And the cause of an oak tree which is not a seed? What? Something which is the cause. Sterile acorn wouldn't be a cause of an oak tree, right? Because that sterile means it can't produce a tree. So what kinds of things cause oak trees? What are causes of oak trees? So, I mean, how are trees formed? You get a seed and you put it in, it falls into the soil, and then it's moist. It gets enough moisture and warmth for it to sprout, which then takes in the sunlight and photosynthesis and takes in water from its roots and everything, right? So you could just posit the sun or the water, which causes the oak tree. You would want to be specific, right? The sun and water which cause the oak tree. Otherwise, you'll run into some logical problems there. So that's the summary. That's the joints of debate. So this is sort of like bringing everything together that we've been going through the past 4 days, and this is another extra tool in your toolkit for how to analyze phenomena and use all these different debates, the phrasings that we have in the Ananda debate, to really start getting clearer about things. Okay, anything else you'd like to add? Then we have the worksheets for everyone that I'll just show you quickly. So this is just a template, so you can use this as your reference for how to phrase the question, right? When you're trying to ask a defender for comparing, to tell which of the 4 relationships it is, you ask it in this way. It's written here. And so it's basically a script, okay? So you can use this as your reference. And then we have below that more worksheets, okay? So these worksheets now, it's just lists of, 2 phenomena side by side that you compare in this way. So that's what we will be doing for the next 25 minutes, let's do. And then we'll come back in a few minutes before the end of the session, and then we'll actually have one of the monastery administrators come to give a kind of final closing word and word of thanks to everybody. And so if we can all, we'll call everyone back when it's time. But please go find a partner, and we'll be around checking on everyone if there are questions. And please try your best. Very good.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Great. Yes. So we should do the how is the joints of the bait, right?
Yeah. Should we just follow the worksheet? I'm not fully understanding it yet, but
Sure. I did it yesterday with a partner, so yes, we can go through that. I think.
you did joint of reasoning with a partner yesterday?
Yes. I mean, we just went that way.
Oh, you had this worksheet yesterday? Okay. I thought we just got it today.
No, because it was in the, they gave us some worksheets before the course.
Okay.
Through an email. I don't know if you received them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I see. So
Okay,
what
but
would
sure,
you like?
yeah, let's do it.
No, I mean we can do anything, but what would you like to do?
Yes, I think it's perfect to do that.
Okay, why don't you be a challenger? Because you have more experience with this then.
Sure, yes, I will do it. So, take the subject, a flower, and a rose. It follows, you can posit the joints of the bait in terms of the 3 joints.
So the challenger gives 2 objects by saying, for example, it follows. You can posit the relationship between flower and form in terms of 3 joints, 4 joints, equivalence, or contradiction. Then the defender will accept and the challenger will reply positive. Then the defender will identify the joints of reasoning between the 2 objects, choosing one of the following form. Then the challenger will ask for examples of each joint. Use the joints of the bait template for reference. Okay, I think we can do this kind of slowly, otherwise it will be...
Yeah, right. Okay, so I think we have to be first sure what it is. So the equivalence is like completely same, right? It's like synonymous,
Yeah,
right? Then contradiction is they have nothing in common whatsoever.
yeah.
Then 3 joints. That is a little okay. Like I don't understand the difference between 3 joints and 4 joints.
Okay, so like 3 joints is like you have a big category, like food, which contains a smaller category like Indian food.
Yeah.
So the one is food, then Indian food, Italian food, Brazilian food. So there is the big one, and then the small ones.
Yes. Okay, so that is
So
3 joints, right?
yeah.
And then the 4 joints.
The 4 joints is like 2 different things that sometimes something can sometimes be one, sometimes be both, and sometimes be the other one. So here
Can you
they
give an
give the
example?
example like a cat and a female animal. So
Okay.
so the first group A is like all cats are in this group, and then in the second group all female animals are in the second group. So
Right.
you can find some instances something that is both a cat and a
Male
female
cat. Right. Like
animal. Yeah,
overlapping the right.
overlap. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I think we can do this.
Okay, let's try. Do you want to be the challenger? Then the I think I will get the more
Okay.
difficult part.
Okay. D. It follows. Oh wait. So, right. I start with it follows, right?
Yes, like
Yeah.
follows you can posit the relationship between, and then
Right.
you
And
read
take these 2. Mm-hmm.
the 2 things down.
Okay. It follows you can posit the relationship between the dog and an animal in form in terms of 3 joints, 4 joints, equivalent or contradiction.
I accept.
Posit it.
Dog and animal. It is 3 joints.
3 joints. Okay. Oh, that's it. Is it right?
That's it. Then you ask for examples for each. So I said 3 joints. So I think you can say, give me examples of. Oh no. Then you ask which pervades which.
Wait, 3 joints. Okay, yeah. Which pervades which?
So if it is a dog, it is necessarily an animal. But if it is an animal, it's not necessarily a dog.
It follows that if it is a dog, it is not necessarily. Oh, it follows if it is an animal, it is not necessarily a dog.
I accept.
Okay, and it follows that if it is an animal. Oh, this is what I said. It follows that if it is a dog, it is not necessarily. Oh, it is necessary. It follows that if it is a dog, it is necessarily an animal.
I accept.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, and this is it, right? Like this.
Now you ask for the examples.
Oh, okay. So posit an example of an animal that is not a dog.
Take the subject, cat.
Okay. Take the subject a cat, it follows it is not a dog.
I accept.
Take the subject a cat, it follows it is an animal.
I accept.
Okay. Now I think we are good, yeah?
Now you have to ask for some. So we checked the first joint,
Uh-huh.
which is something that is something that is animal but not dog. Now we have to check something that is a dog and an animal.
Oh, okay, sorry, that was the wrong one. Yeah. So, okay, take the subject Yorkshire. Wait, that it is a dog, but it is not an animal?
That it is a dog and an animal.
An animal,
It's the
yes,
one that is
okay.
both.
So take the
Yes.
subject Yorkshire, it follows it is a dog.
I accept.
Take the subject Yorkshire, it follows it is an animal.
I accept.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now do I have to twist it? Like something that is... Oh no, that we checked the provision already.
Yeah. Then there could be we could check something that is neither one of them, so it is the third joint. But that is kind of obvious thing.
Yeah, it's like take a subject, the plant, it follows.
Yeah. That's very easy. So maybe it's not really necessary.
Follows, it's not an animal. Yeah. Yeah, that I guess that's it then.
Okay.
Feel like checking it out. Or is it?
I will
has
check it out.
Has someone joined us in the? Hello.
Yeah. So, let's move on to the three joints, shall we?
Okay. Yes. It follows you can posit the difference between a black cat and a feline in terms of 3 joints, 4 joints, equivalence, or contradiction.
I accept.
Posited.
3 joints.
Which pervades which?
If it is a black cat, it is necessarily a feline. If it is a feline, it is not necessarily a black cat.
Follows as if it is a feline, then it's not necessarily a black cat.
I accept.
Okay. Posit an example of something that is a feline and not a black cat. Okay, white.
If the subject a white cat.
Okay. If the subject a white cat, it follows that it is a feline.
I accept.
If the subject a white cat, follows that it is not a black cat.
I accept.
Posit an example of something that is joint hub of feline and a black cat.
Take the subject the black cat in the garden.
Something that is joint hub for a. Take the subject black cat in the garden, follows that it is a feline. Okay.
I accept.
Take the subject the black cat in the garden, follows that it is a black cat.
I accept.
Posit an example of something that is neither a feline nor a black cat.
Take the subject a tree.
Okay. Take the subject a tree, follows not a feline.
I accept.
Take the subject a tree, follows that it is not a black cat.
I accept.
Okay.
4 joints.
4 joints. Okay.
Do you want me to challenge you now?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So it follows you can posit the difference between a cat, a female animal in terms of 3 joints, 4 joints, equivalence, or contradiction.
Accept.
Positive.
4 joints.
Confirming provisions. It follows that if it is a cat, then it is not necessarily a female animal.
Accept.
It follows that if it is a female animal, then it is not necessarily a cat.
Accept.
Posit an example of something that is a cat and not a female animal.
A male cat. Take the example, a male cat.
Take the subject, a male cat. It follows that it is a cat.
Accept.
Take the subject, a male cat. It follows it is not a female.
Accept.
And now the challenger may ask for reasons. Okay, posit an example of something that is a female animal but not a cat.
Take the subject, a cow.
Take the subject a cow, it follows it is a female animal.
I accept.
Take the subject a cow, it follows it is not a cat.
I accept.
Now the challenger asks for a reason. Posit an example of something which is both a cat and a female animal.
Okay. I digress.
Take the subject a tigress, it follows that it is a cat.
I accept.
Take the subject a tigress, it follows it is a female.
I accept.
And challenger asks for reasons. Posit an example of something that is neither a cat nor a female animal.
An ink pot.
Take the subject an import. It follows it is not a cat.
I accept.
Take the subject an ink pot. It follows it is not a female animal.
I accept.
The challenger asks for reason. Okay, so now we can do the worksheet. So instruction, the challenger will give two objects by saying e.g. follows you can posit the relationship between flower and form in terms of 3 joints, 4 joints, equivalence or contradiction.
You can accept and the challenger will positive and will then proceed to identify the joint of these ones between two objects using one of the following 4 joints, 4 joints equivalence contradiction. Then the challenger will ask for examples of each and use the joints of debate template for reference. Okay, okay, so when we do
I have the sheets here too. I'm gonna share my screen as well so that we can have access to both of them.
Okay. Is someone in this debate school thing? Because I have a question. Hello. I guess so.
Hi. Yeah, I don't know. You can always call someone if you have.
No, I was
a question,
wondering.
but-
I was just wondering if like do we need to like be so thorough with everything, or like once like we give an example and both of like in our heads agree, we can just move on to something. So that seems very tiring, like the whole thing, and like a bit
I would
unnecessary.
guess.
Yeah.
I would guess that you would have to be very thorough because the point is to train us in the format of the debate. So even though you can agree that a tigress is a female cat and not an inkpot and whatever, I do think that we should go through it
Okay.
to get used to the structure.
Okay. Go on.
But anyway, so let's see.
Yeah.
Where's the worksheet? It's here. No, it's not here.
You can click on my share screen. I have the exercise open.
Alright, perfect. I stopped seeing your shirt screen. Oh, there it is. Okay, so then you say something like, it follows that you can posit the relationship between dog and animal in terms of 3 joints, 4 joints, equivalence, or contradiction.
Positive.
You have to say I accept, right?
Oh, I accept. Okay. I accept.
And then I ask you to posit it.
Yeah. Okay. So dog
And then you click on my screen and I will show you the different ones that there are.
Yes. So okay.
Equivalence, contradiction, 3 joints,
3 joints. I'll
or
go with
4
3
joints.
joints.
Right. I would have said the same.
Okay.
All right.
So,
So your turn.
okay. It follows that you can posit the relation. This is what we're doing, right? We're going to the next one. Or okay.
Yes.
It follows that you can posit relationship between a dog and a cat in terms of 3 joint, 4 joint, equivalence, or contradiction.
I
Positive.
contradiction. Right?
Yes.
What do you think?
Oh, but both of them are animals, right? So there is an overlap.
Oh yeah, but in that case, everything would be at some point part of the
Yeah.
4 joints.
Hmm.
Oh, I help with that. But I'm guessing it's 4 joints.
Okay, not everything that is A is B. Okay, not everything that is not A.
But there is not one single
Yeah, there
cat
is
that is also a dog,
exactly.
right?
So yeah, I think it
So
will have to be.
then, so it's probably contradiction.
Yeah. Everything that is A is not B. Everything. Yeah.
Even though they're
Okay.
both animals, there is not one cat that is
One.
also a dog.
Okay.
Okay, so it
But
follows
yeah.
you can posit the relationship between a bird and an animal with feathers in terms of the 3 joints, 4 joints, equivalence, or contradiction.
I accept.
Posit it then.
Let's see.
So first we have equivalence.
Bird and feathers. Mm, You can just roll down to the last slide that has like all 4 of them together.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, you're right. I'm gonna do that. It's much easier.
uh, okay.
I think a good question to ask ourselves is, are there animals that are not birds that also have feathers?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Uh, hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
You know that
I
some
think it.
people.
Sorry, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Go
you
on.
don't.
No.
No.
That dinosaurs used to have feathers.
Exactly, that's
It's
what I was thinking. But like in that exactly what I was thinking. But I feel like in that case, like if they discover sort of a species of dinosaur and they figure out it had feathers, do they end up classifying it as a bird, or is that a
That's a
nest?
great question.
So let me just Google it for a second.
Or you could just answer anything that you want because it's
I'll
just an
go with
exercise. It's okay.
equivalence, I think, for
Okay.
now.
All right. But just for the record, I don't think that they would call necessarily an animal with feathers a bird because birds also have beaks. They have wings of some sort. You know, some of them can fly, and some of them can't, but they have wings nonetheless. So, and they lay eggs. So if there's an animal with feathers that does not lay eggs, does not have a beak, does not have wings, it may not be a bird. But this is not my field of study, so I wouldn't have like an educated opinion. But that's just a guess.
Yeah. Okay. But in this particular example, animal with feather and a bird, animal with feather. We are only looking at feather and its relationship with a bird.
So you could just,
Okay.
I mean, given that there are no dinosaurs anymore, we could just say that they are equivalent.
Okay. For now, let's go to the next one, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so now you
Okay.
challenge me.
Yeah. It follows that you can posit a relationship between big animal and mammal in terms
I
of 3
accept.
joints. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Posit. No,
Sorry.
it's fine. Positive.
4 joints.
4 joints. Okay.
Yeah. Do you agree?
Big animals and mammals. Yeah, I mean, first of all, what is big? That in itself is.
If you ask me to posit an example, I will tell you a whale or an elephant.
For joint, you need like something which has a common ground, but also
Yeah, the 4 joints, right? Because it is a big animal right? So there are big animals that are surely not mammals,
Okay. And then it is a
and
mammal.
and then you have
Yeah.
mammals
Animal.
that are not big.
Not necessarily. Then you have both and you have neither. Okay. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
so I would say that 4 joints would be the way to go.
Mm. I agree. Okay. Mm.
Hello, everybody. So let's try and finish up within the next couple of minutes and make our way back into the temple for a short closing. Okay.
So we didn't get too far here, but I think we
But I think we're
got
getting it slowly.
yes, yes. Okay. So then, so if there's birds that don't have feather, then
Actually, here it says that when they are young, they might not have feathers on some parts of the body, but there are many types of feathers, and they are on every bird. There are no bird species that naturally, when they are grown-ups, they don't have any feather, so they do have.
do you agree, Alex?
I was reading the article, Alex, the one you sent.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe they're equivalent.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Should we try equivalent?
Sure.
What is
Other direct.
equivalent?
Yes.
First page.
Like
It's the first page.
first one.
There. It follows you can posit the relationship between bird and animals with feathers in terms of three joints, four joints, equivalence, or contradiction.
I accept.
Posited.
Equivalence.
Take the subject, a bird and an animal with feathers. They are equivalent because.
Because they have the 8 doors of pervasion.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now you know. I'm listening to you. Now you have to go through the 8.
Oh
It
yes.
works.
Okay. 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 If it's a bird, it's necessarily an animal with a feather. If it's an animal with a feather, it's necessarily a bird.
Mm-hmm.
If it is not a bird, it is necessarily not an animal with a feather. If it's not an animal with a feather, it's necessarily not a bird.
Mm-hmm.
If it,
I think here's where he said exist or not exist. Remember that Donio said
yes,
maybe it's better.
right. Okay. If it exists, no. If wait, I don't understand. If it is, I wonder if it's
I'm looking for here. It says if A doesn't exist, B necessarily doesn't exist. If B doesn't exist, A necessarily doesn't exist, or the positive one. If A exists, B necessarily exists. If it's B exists, A exists, necessarily exists.
okay. So if it is a bird, it
Maybe
oh no,
if a bird
if a
exists,
bird if a bird exists, then an animal with a feather exists, necessarily exists.
Mhm.
If an animal with a feather exists, then a bird necessarily exists.
Mhm.
If a bird doesn't exist,
Mhm.
then an animal with a feather necessarily doesn't exist. If an animal with a
Mhm.
feather doesn't exist, then necessarily a bird doesn't exist.
Okay.
All right, I think we should go back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
guys.
so much,
Yes.
both of
Thank you
you. It was
both.
really useful. Thank you.
Bye bye.
to everybody who has come and worked really hard for the past 5 days to learn a new skill. And from what I can see, it's been an amazing progress. In just 5 short days, people are really using the Nalanda debate language to work through amazing and deep, profound philosophical questions. And some funny, just fun, kind of more playful questions as well. But everyone seems to be enjoying themselves. Do you get that sense?
I'm enjoying myself.
Right. We have one person. What about anyone online is enjoying yourself? Are you enjoying the course? You can give a, I don't know, some kind of emoji symbol if you want to. Yes. Awesome. Very good. So that's key, right? To be enjoying ourselves while we're learning this precious skill and tradition of logic and debate. So just a couple of things to wrap up the class. So I'm going to give just a little bit of overview about the coming courses, other opportunities that we are offering for people to continue learning and to go even deeper into Nalanda debate. So one is that we are going to have what's called the Fall Debate School. So we did this last year for the first time, and Venerable Namjong was also part of that, as well as Venerable Lekshe and some of our other monks. And it really was an amazing a chance for people to completely immerse themselves. All of us were, for a whole month, every day, 6 days a week, immersed in the Nalanda debates and learning. We actually started going more into Buddhist philosophy because that's, we need some kind of material to debate about, right? So if you want to go a little bit deeper into Buddhist philosophy and have a chance to continue learning to debate for a whole month, you can join this program. Again, it's offered by the monastery, so the room and board is offered from the side of the monastery. Everyone is welcome to attend, and we'll send an email out with more information about that, or at least a link to more information about that. The only thing, if you want to attend that, it's from November 16th till December 16th, so full month, the 16th of November to the 16th of December. You need to apply, if you are not an Indian citizen, you need to apply for a document called a PAP, a Protected Area Permit, which can take several months. So that means you need to decide very soon, by the end of this month, that you want to come apply for the program and apply for your PAP before the end of this month to ensure you get it on time. Okay? And that would be great to see you there. The next thing is that we have ongoing debate session, which we just started after the last debate winter school, so just going for a few months, but we have once a week. We meet on Sundays, or people meet, anyone who wants to come and continue practice debating. And within that, we also have some kind of other material that we've been using, more, again, related to some of the some Buddhist thought and what's called the Lam Rim. I think that term has come up before. So we have some debates that are focused on topics within the Lam Rim, which is talking about things like, the nature of a human life and how precious it is, and how, the importance of relying on teachers in order to make progress and learn things. And then, for instance, learning about or debating about death and impermanence. So those are the kinds of topics that we debate about in those Sunday meetings, and those we'll also send more information about. Otherwise, we will send out an evaluation. We'd love everyone to fill an evaluation. We'll have it to you by the end of the day. So please fill it out. Don't forget, please fill it out right when you get it, just so everything's fresh in your mind and you can just do it and be done with it. And within that evaluation, we'll ask a little bit about your interest in other future programs. For instance, maybe we could, kind of create like a level 2 debate school, right? So we have a 5-day workshop like we did, where we really just start with the bare bones structure, but maybe we could have a 5-day program where we start already with the assumption of that background knowledge and capacity or skill, and then we can continue to go a little deeper and do some more, right? Okay, so those we'll ask about in the evaluation. Please fill that out. Once again, just to remind everyone, and this will go in the email, people, if you'd like to make a donation to help support the monastery in general and the continuation of these kinds of programs, we'll give you the link for the instructions for that. And thank you to everyone who has made donations. That's extremely generous of you. For those in person, there's a donation box on the table over on the side of the room, and you're welcome to put anything in there. Or I know many of you have already done that, so thank you all as well. There's a sheet that says, you know, name and amount donated. You don't have to fill that out, but if you do, then we can get you a receipt. And likewise, anyone online, if you want a receipt for your donation, please just make a note when you make the donation, and we can send it to you even by mail, so that if you get a receipt, you know, physically, then it will come with also a packet of blessed pills. So that's the monastery always gives a pack of blessed pills when they give the receipt for a donation. So that would be the advantage of getting the physical receipt there. Okay, the last thing I want to say before we have the monastery's administrator, again, Ngong Jangchup. He will come to give a little closing, a final word of closing. But before he comes, I just want to mention that we will send out also a quiz for everyone who wants to take it. But if you would like to get a certificate of completion for the course, then the only requirement is that you complete the quiz, and then that will also be explained in the email. But yeah, and so that's enough. And so now, time for thanks. I would like to maybe just ask if Stefan, while I'm hoping you're listening, if you can take the questions that came up just during this session. I saw a few in the chat. We didn't have time to get to them. If you could send them into the WhatsApp group so we can address them later, that would be excellent. And also, any more questions that you have, please feel free to send them into the WhatsApp group, because it really helps everyone to see different people's questions and how the different instructors and coaches explain, right, respond to the questions in different ways. And it's just, yeah, personally, I just want to say it's so nice to see so many, actually, even though I haven't had that much time directly with many of you online, I've seen a lot of old Dharma friends from various places that I've been, and it's very nice to see you learning the Nalanda debate. So very good, and I have noticed you, and so thank you for coming. So now, if we can have again Jangchup and again Tupke, would you like to come to say something? Yes. So, well, please, everybody, give a warm welcome to Ngong Jangchup, who is the main administrator of the monastery. And so it's thanks to him and to the monastery's, you know, to the monastery administration that we can have this program.
Yeah, firstly, I would like to thank all the venerable here who is very hard works for all of you here to study, and you all are very fortunate to have such the ancient study of Indian philosophy. So I hope you all enjoy, and they have some few last year we have a Western, many of the Western countries who came here to say similar to that course. So I see. Okay. So also the online who are watching here, and then probably they also in future they can learn and come here to participate. By the way, right now we have usually what we have those kind of section which is whole in the education. We have education kind of center in the Tashi Chuling. So unfortunately we have some programs going on, so that's why we couldn't hold up your section on that part. So in future, maybe you can join through the Western. Those probably will be started next year, right?
November,
Next year.
November of this year.
This year, yeah, yeah. In few months, you can join for that. Will be more uh, learning part, and yeah, I will say that then. So hopefully you all enjoy all the, and then it's always be pleasure to serve, especially in Indian community that we are grateful that have been here for 60 years in our struggles. So of course, he's always be grateful for the Indians. So those you Indians guys learn the ancients philosophies that what happening in future, the past. So that 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 philosophy which is give you a very sense of humor and the compassionate society. So the lack of the compassion, because of that we're having some struggle in this world. So you Indians have millions Indian in here. So if you learn it, those kind of debate, that means dialogue, which you can start a dialogue with the whatever religious, whatever science, whatever it is, then will be solved with a dialogue, not by guns, not by violence. So that is the main source that Indian has been keeping these harmonious philosophies. So hopefully you can carry that towards the many Indians. They learn it. Then within our religious, no fight. Why you want to fight? You have on your capacity to learn whatever you want. Whatever you are not feeling with that, you just keep avoid that and not the no fight. So if you cannot learn further that from that, then you doesn't need to fight for the just talk on the common sense of so many rubbish. Then based on that talks, then you believe, and then fight it start. Not never think on the intelligent mind that you has a build the mind that create a lot of ability to peace of mind. So you didn't use that mind. So the ancients, they use the mind. Basing on that mind, then they debate, then they learn, then the peace of mind always be arise. So very important. So hopefully you can carry that towards your community, your friends, share those things, then you learn more and give them more chance. Doesn't mean that you have to change your religious. You just learn what is good, what is not good. You doesn't need to change your religious. You keep your religious, but if there is something that you have some kind of peace of mind that can you find in some of this path, then you take it. That is your medicine. That's what you want. So it's always says that we are not converting religious. We are just give the philosophies, the ancient philosophy that give you harmony in the society, so that we can spread towards the world. So that is the main purpose. So that's why you hope you can go whenever you have a time, just share, learn. Then the society become a very harmony. So everyone's need the harmony, right? So that's my conclusion. Thanks for everyone coming here. So hopefully you can join in next time.
Great kindness of the Sara Monastery and giving us this opportunity.
Most welcome. Most welcome.
We have a small just for
Let's put this on the camera.
yeah, okay.
This one.
So
Okay, just from monastery to small. Those who are known the Karnataka, that is known the word villagers.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, come one by one on the stage, so I'll give. Okay. English one. Smile and come. Karnataka, it is, if you can share with your Karnataka students, because it contain a lot of dishonest, teaching.
It's an English called the kindness is buried inside. Yeah. It is basically a resource religion went to the different universities in the US, and then there's this kind of message that's combined to. You can share your.
Those who know the Karnataka, they can share this.
You don't have enough English.
This Oman Pavilion, which is mantra of our Krishna, we consider it this holiness of Krishna.
Thank you. Do you have Tibetan? Something in Tibetan. 그걸 왜 그러시게 됩니까? 왜 그러시게 그걸 다 봤어요, 제가.
give children the 약수 children. Singapore. You study here? Yes. He started Chicago. You just come across here or you?
Yeah. Chicago.
Canada.
Very nice.
Books about the future.
박열직도 인지 탭시면 제가. 예, 탭돼서 제가.
테스트.
위티가.
Yes.
Which one? Market. Oh, very close by.
Oh yes.
네. 이게 기치치신 뒤에.
됐을 거. 까마득 거.
주제. 알레가서 공부하게.
This one. Can take few. Yeah. You can take few of it.
남자 이 가다 남자
Yeah.
Thank for them. Their hard work. Can you please?
Again, Lakshya. Oh, goodness. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. So let's just do one thing first. So first I need to say thank you to all of the people who are helping from online, and that includes all of our coaches, and especially Stefan, who's really been instrumental in running the entire course and working with the GatherTown platform and all the technical difficulties which made the course run seemingly flawlessly, with a few little bumps from basically just internet problems here, but otherwise everything was very, very smooth. And so thank you to especially huge thanks to Stefan and the coaches, which include, I know Victoria has been coming almost every session, every day, and Venerable Toma as well. And then Shmuel and Alan and Karen. So all of you who were all attendees at the last Fall Debate School. So your skill that you developed over that month allowed you to help run this course and help the new students learn. So thank you so much, and huge gratitude from all of us and the monastery. And so because we don't have everyone in person and everyone's on most people are on GatherTown, we're going to try, if you still have a minute or two, to take group photos online. So what we're going to do is we're going to just call people up, maybe 5 by 5. How many people in general fit on the screen at once? About 5 or 6? Oh, like if you can have like the carousel view with like many. Okay, so let's call people up, maybe just 10 at a time, and that should cover the 2 groups. So why don't you, if you can please, if you're okay with it, if you're embarrassed or shy, we're not going to force you to turn your camera on and come up, but I'll just call your names, just going, because it's in alphabetical order. If we can have, well, Stefan is first, since he's got the flower. So Stefan, Alex, Andrew, Angela, Brett, Dinesh, Deepa, Dolkar, Elisa, and Gustavo. Okay, if you 10 can come up to the stage, and if Lexie can try and get a photo with everyone, I just mean from the laptop, right? So you set the view so they can, yeah. So then we can get a photo, not just of the people in person, but also the people online. So we'll just do it with, yeah, how should we do it? Let's see what it looks like. There's a way to do a screen capture right in GatherTown, right? Oh, look. Like this, yeah.
Okay, so you don't need to.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is great. So, yeah, if we could actually have the people in person come up on stage too, it's like we're also in the screen, in the shot as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I just lost a bunch of people. Yeah, it looks like more could fit actually. Why doesn't everybody come? And we'll see how that goes. What? No, there's a few people in the audience. Everyone has to come onto the stage, I think. Yeah, it just keeps adding people. Will it just fill the whole? Okay, no, that's not working. It's just replacing some people and then putting new people in. So why doesn't, yeah, limit to the first 10 I called, and then we'll do another set.
What is that? 6 times 4, 24.
Okay, well, this is good. So just everyone who's on stage now stay, and then we'll do the next bunch of you after. So why don't we have a few more people come on stage, so we're sort of here. Yeah. Okay, so Lekshay, just tell me when you have kind of a nice. Are you able to do what I'm asking for even? Okay, maybe I'll do it from here. I can do it from here. Yeah. Okay, everyone, smile. Cheese. Okay, I think it worked. Yes.
No, we haven't taken.
Hindi na ngayon sabat ya tahu combat daw center daw
Okay. Yeah, Lekshay, you can even just take photos with your camera. That's good. Okay, so let's do one more. Now that everyone's on the stage, we'll do one more. Okay. I don't know what's going on with the camera here. Capture. Okay, yeah, I think Shift Window S just does a screen capture. If you want to do that, like shit. Okay, I'm going to take those. Oh, you're doing this. You're doing the photo. You're doing everything. Okay, so why don't we have online people? I think we got a good photo. So why don't we have the online switch? So everyone on the stage go off, and everyone off the stage come onto the stage. Okay.